Iran never seems to really leave the headlines, but it is definitely back in a new way this morning. Iran saying late yesterday that it would begin some war games, brandishing its military force today. So we're watching to see if that threat from President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad in Iran is actually going to be carried through today. But it certainly has us wondering where we stand with that country. And many Americans wonder, all we hear about really is the government. What are the people like and how do they feel? Where are their hearts? And particularly when you look at the population in Iran, the faces that you can't see because they're all covered up, the women, and how they are treated and what their dreams and goals are and what their voices, if any, are like in that country. Joining me now is Mary Apick. She's an Iranian actress and is traveling across the country with a one-woman show.
It's actually 14 people on stage.
14 people in it. She plays two women in it,
yes.
And it's called Beneath the Veil. And it's a look at, because I know you derived it from the lives of 10 women who live in Iran. First of all, welcome this morning. Glad to have you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Tell me about Beneath the Veil and these women that you looked at.
Well, Beneath the Veil is a play about women in the Middle East, particularly in Iran. And it's the extension of a work that I have done for many years as an activist for the rights of women in the Middle East, particularly women in Iran. And there are many different stories from a point of view of an American reporter who's writing an article for the Next Day Publishing, and she falls asleep in her bedroom. All these characters come up the books and each have a story to tell, and ultimately and unanimously all these stories become her story and the voice of women in the world. Mm-hmm. It's a very powerful, provocative, with comedy and drama combination of true stories which has happened in the past 3 decades in Iran as well as the surrounding neighboring countries.
You were born and raised in Iran until you were 18 years old. Mm-hmm. So I would imagine some of your story is part of, were you one of the 10 women that you're kind of portraying, your own story?
Well, actually, my story is not there, but I have the story of Zahra Kazemi, the Canadian-Iranian journalist who went to Iran in 2003 and she never returned. She was killed by the government of Iran in prison in Evin. That's one of the stories that I'm portraying, as well as several true stories, yet one of the stories that's very close to my heart is my girlfriend's daughter who committed suicide because she was 16 years old and she was carrying Michael Jackson's photographs and showing it to her friends.
Uh-huh.
So as a reprimand, they cut her hair off.
No.
And so she goes on top of a school building and she throws herself down.
No.
So it's like a memory of her as well as, on the stage each night we perform, which is very close to my heart. Her name was Melody.
What is it like for women there right now?
Well, the situation changes actually from day to day, depending how the politics are rolling. But altogether, as far as their daily routine clothing is concerned, they're covered. And this is not because, the cover and the veil.
When you say cover,
yeah,
tell me about that.
Exactly, because in different regions in the Muslim countries, they have different attires for women.
Yeah, but it seems like in Iran, we can't see any of them.
Well, some of them, in the south section, for instance, of Iran, there may be some with the actual physical veil that you can just see the eyes. But in the, like for instance in Tehran, it's just a scarf, and then there's this tonic that they have to. It's like some sort of a uniform that they wear in different colors and all that. That's mandated by the government because they think that it is religious, of course. I mean, you have to have your hair covered. When I was in Iran, it was a choice. If you were a religious person, you chose to wear any type of like a chador or any type of a face covering, you could. And for myself, because I was a trendsetter, a star on television at age 12, I was wearing mini skirts and mini shorts, and it was a teen idol I was at the time of the Shah.
They didn't cut your hair?
No. None of that. It was just like a civilized society, and it was different completely.
It was
by
different
choice
for a period of time.
Yes, exactly. With the previous government we're talking about,
right.
But the past 3 decades is presented with so many atrocities, and particularly the first victims as women in Iran on many different levels. And it's not just the idea of the veil, it's the idea of women's rights issue, human rights issue. Their rights.